Well, hello there, everybody. It's been a long time since both of us have been on doing a recording here. I'm Junkyard James, and that's my homeboy, Commander Cody. This is the new rendition of the Beyond the Junkyard Wrestling podcast. Sir, how are you doing? It's been a minute.
Oh, Jamie J, it is going well. It is freezing in North Carolina. Hope everybody is doing well. Points north, south, east, and west, whether it's day, night, afternoon. Hope everybody is doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. We got a pretty good show to talk to everybody about today. The homeboy CM Punk is back in the WWE. And so let's start there. But first, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. New hashtag for the show, if you see in the bottom left-hand corner, if you're watching on the live stream on YouTube. This will also be posted on Spotify and Apple Podcasts here after the live stream is recorded and uploaded. But new hashtag Beyond the Yard. We want feedback. We want topics to eventually talk about. The plan is to, at some point, kind of get into the history of some historical events that have gone on in pro wrestling, and we'll lead into some of that here in the future. But CM Punk just blew up the wrestling world, so that's where we're starting this new rendition. Make sure to follow the YouTube channel at Junkyard Media Group, Facebook page as well, Junkyard Media Group, the Twitter page at Junkyard MG, and let's jump in. I didn't watch Survivor Series on Saturday. I know you did. So I'll let you kind of explain the feeling on Saturday and then kind of lead up to CM Punk's debut back 10 years in the making in WWE.
Yeah. I am not a loyal WWE watcher every week, but I decided, you know what? I had a feeling something was going to happen on Saturday night, and decided to watch it, and it was okay. It was an all right show. Wasn't horrible. Wasn't great. I thought that the men's War Games was better than the female, even though the female was pretty decent. A couple of the matches threw me off. I did not really care for Rhea and Zoe Stark. I don't see Zoe Stark at all as a performer. And the Santos Escobar match was okay. It wasn't bad. And then the men's War Games was okay. It wasn't bad. It was pretty good. To me, a true War Games match has the cages closed. I guess this, obviously WWE has had this match now for a few years with the NXT installments and all that good stuff. So it was what it was. We get to the end of the match, and the tease with Orton not coming out, Rhea potentially letting Damian cash in. It was a fun little spot. Then Orton comes out, and babyface team of him, Cody, Jay, Seth, Sami Zayn, they all clean house. They win. Cool spot with the RKO from the top on I forgot his name. RJ McDonough, JR McDonough, JD McDonough. There you go. So look at that. There you go. Yeah, and so decent match overall. Babyfaces win. We get to the end. Copyright logo comes on. Think it's over. They get to the white shot, and then all of a sudden, Pepsi Phil.
Fragile Phil.
Third return in the city of Chicago in the last 3 years. So Obviously, a massive pop, great pop. It's in Chicago. I feel like maybe the pop is going to be the same if he wasn't in Chicago. But I mean, good Lord, for whatever reason, I mean, the man just has to be in Chicago to make a return. Yeah. So overall, it was a decent Survivor Series. It was a decent show, and then the ending was pretty memorable for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. The ending was memorable because it made us want to watch Monday Night Raw, which I think both of us can suffice. We don't like Monday Night Raw all that much, regardless of what the guy DJ Wavy D had to say. I did not love Raw. I don't know about you. I felt like I was dying watching that entire show, but I stayed to watch the show to see what CM Punk would do. And good grief, I don't understand the booking decision to leave CM Punk for the final 6 minutes of the show. I don't want to break down Raw. There was literally nothing important, and at least in my opinion, that happened. I felt like I was in hell for 3 hours. I don't understand how I could sit through Rampage and Collision back to back the last 2 weeks and be completely fine, but a 3-hour Monday Night Raw put me to sleep almost. And then CM Punk came out at the end, and good for WWE. They knew they were going to get the ratings for people watching the whole show, waiting for Phil to show up. Wouldn't have been my personal decision to have him end the show. My feeling would be is you probably could have got more people to watch at the beginning had he started the show. Before we get into what Phil had to say in his promo, what was that, Raw? Was it just as boring to you as it was for me?
I struggled mightily watching Raw. I could not tell you half of what that show was. I remember watching Nia Jax and Zoe Stark. To me, it was god awful. I will say this, that there are obviously big differences between AEW and WWE from a production standpoint, from an in-ring product, from a promo standpoint, from an overall production standpoint. As much as I like probably more of the competitors in the women's division of AEW, I will say that if you compare the Nia Jax Joey Stark match to Julia Hart and Emi Sakura, they were both not good. I will say that. They were both not good.
Right.
I will take the I don't know, maybe the choreography. I will take the overall match flow, as boring as it was between Zoe and Nia, because they were slow and steady. Pace was what it was, but it didn't seem too awkward. It was just not a great match because I don't like either one of the competitors. To me, they don't draw my attention. Right. I love Julia as a character. She's gotten so much better in the ring, but that match was sloppy. And I don't fully blame Julia for that because she has come a long way from 2 years ago, 1 year ago in the ring. I don't know if it's a language barrier or what it was, but the ending of that match was just real sloppy. And so I will take from that perspective. If it was a 2-hour Raw, I'm fine with Punk being in the main event. A 3-hour Raw,
yeah.
I mean, it was tough to get through. And then you sit for 2 hours and 50 minutes to wait for Punk, and he delivers a 6-minute promo to end the show. I didn't like it. Promo was what it was, but I wish they had more time for him. I don't know what else he would have said. Probably not too much.
Right.
But the promo was pretty dull for waiting 2 hours and 50 minutes for it. And I know that he's not going to drop a huge pipe bomb on AEW, probably because WWE does not want to even acknowledge AEW. I don't think they really think that they're a competitor, true threat, whatever you want to call it. And I'm fine with that. I'm actually fine with Punk not going on a tirade pipe bomb bashing the other company. To me, it's not needed. Now, will he, would it create great television? Yes, it would. But I think, honestly, Punk would have probably done the same thing if he was in TNA. Right. It's great to be back in TNA. We've come full circle. This company was so much different from when I was in 2002 or 3. And, we're back. And I feel like we would have done the same thing there. And it's an interesting promo for sure. But, yeah, that, man.
Yeah.
There's a Raw is hard to sit through.
So I would sit here and say, I don't think, and this is just going based off what Tony Khan has said, is when someone asked about Punk debuting in WWE and his thought on it, Tony Khan said he couldn't speak on anything because there's legalities in the way. I think there's some sort of non-disclosure agreement between Punk and AEW that he's just not going to be able legally to say anything that could be offensive in some way, shape, or form, at least for the short while. But we talk about Punk's 6-minute promo. I'm going to sum it up here in about 22 seconds. And it was predicted in advance kind of what he was going to say by none other than our AEW World Champion, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Listen to this.
It sure is great to be back here in insert name of town. I sure do love being a part of insert name of company. Gee whiz, I sure am looking forward to my matchup against insert name of opponent, Robotic Pucker Up Punk.
I don't know. I found that clip and it was almost spot on. Here was my problem with Punk's promo, and tell me, I guess I'll use another one of CM Punk's lines. Tell me when I'm telling lies here. It was like one big lie, and it sounded super hypocritical. I think the biggest part, and I think I actually screamed at my TV when he said, "I'm home." That physically pissed me off because he sat there 2 years ago and trashed the living shit out of WWE on AEW television, saying he's back now and he's healthier than he's ever been, and he had to take 7 years to get healthy because the place that he's now calling home made him basically sick to the point that he was about to die or whatnot. Like he trashed the hell out of WWE only to come back and say he's home, as if he hasn't talked a whole bunch of garbage about WWE the past 10 years. There was one line in that entire promo that was factual, which was at the very end where he said he didn't come here to make friends, he came here to make money. And that's all this is to me. I don't see CM Punk as staying in the WWE for a super long time. I don't think his body's going to hold. I think every time he tried to make a return at an AEW, he would get injured or get in a fight in backstage. Am I just off for just thinking that CM Punk's entire promo was just one big hypocritical lie?
I don't think so. One thing I love to listen to in the morning is Busted Open Radio with David Greca, Dreamer, Bully Ray, Mark Henry, Thunder Roses on Fridays. I love to listen to them. I love to listen to their commentary, their thoughts. Obviously, look, Greca being a huge wrestling fan like you and myself, obviously you get the professional side of the aspect of things with Mark Henry, Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, all that good stuff. And Bully Ray brought up a point on Tuesday morning after the Punk promo on Raw that, or maybe it was Monday. It was one of the two. And he said, if Punk gets one good year out of this, it's good. And I think that's all of our. I think that's all of our thing is that it can't last forever, right? Punk has proven that his ego gets in the way, gets the best of him. He is a mark for himself. And I think at the end of the day, whatever is going to give him the biggest paycheck at that time, until he's fed up with the creative, until he's fed up with somebody going off script for one moment, for somebody saying something in an interview, saying something to the camera that's insider, whatever, and then it's off the rails. Now, if we get 1 year of Punk, that's great. I mean, the whole home thing, that's to me, that's just corporate kiss up right there. Dreamer says that, and I think Mark Henry said that they believe the promo that he had. It was good. It was to the point, but they liked it, and it was real. I don't know if I believe that. I believe in the whole he loves you guys. I believe him that he says he's not here to make friends. He's here to make money. I don't think it's home for him. What is home to CM Punk? Home is where he became the biggest star because of his ego, or is home where he left, where he made an initial big name for him? Like home for him probably is TNA or ROH. And he even said in his introduction promo on that Rampage, the first stands in Chicago in 2021, that he left professional wrestling in 2006. And that day in Chicago, he came back to professional wrestling. Which is it? Are you home? Are you back in pro wrestling? Or are you just saying that because WWE's giving you the fat paycheck, giving you a great opportunity to make a name for yourself again, make a big mark, make some money? And I mean, listen, WWE is very hot right now. Ticket sales are great, merchandise is great. They're obviously doing well, and hey, kudos to them. More power to them. When WWE well, pro wrestling does well. When AEW does, wrestling does well. It's good to see the wrestling industry doing well, for the most part. And is the biggest name in town. They're number one. It's great. It's great to see the 10,000 10,000 people in attendance almost every week. The ticket sales are doing great. All this stuff. But I think that without Punk, they're still doing well. Now, yeah, they're going to have a really good trajectory, even more so now because of Punk being here. But I think at the end of the day, how long will it last? Either from injury, from him getting pissed off at the wrong person. Who knows? We shall see. But I'll tell you that. Just kind of going into a little bit of the chat, I'm sure bringing up. I just wanted to dive into.
Yeah.
I looked at from DJ saying that I'm breaking, I'm becoming a casual. To me, if you watch wrestling every week, you're not a casual. You're a diehard. If you know more than what the casual fan knows, you're a diehard. There is no casual. A casual is a person who watches every few months, every few weeks. Hey, I heard this guy's coming back. I'm gonna watch, and then you don't really watch until that person's back, or you watch just for the sole purpose that somebody's there to return, and you watch until they leave or whatever. I think there's a difference between a casual, hardcore, diehard. I think that sometimes that gets looped in a little bit. Casuals are what the 90s had.
Mm-hmm.
Water cooler talk. People that didn't watch wrestling that watched it because it was cool, fun to watch. Water cooler talk. They left in 2002. Those are casuals. They haven't come back, or if they have, it's very, very little. If you watch wrestling every week, you are no longer a casual. You are a diehard. So
I'll push it up even further. If you're listening to this or any wrestling podcast, you're not a casual, because casuals do not spend the time of day to find wrestling podcasts to listen to wrestling.
Sure.
For the most part, maybe like the Eric Bischoff 83 Weeks podcast.
Maybe a podcast here and there, but they're not listening to a podcast between two goons on a Thursday night at 9 o'clock.
Right.
I don't think so.
Yes. I was actually going to bring some stuff in from the chat here.
Let's see, we got new software and technology, so I don't know what we're able to do and not do. So this is all new to me.
So here we go. DJ Wavy D pops up on here.
Look at
Punk
that.
was in ROH, TNA for 4 years combined, and WWE for 10 years. Maybe, but without the ROH days, without the TNA days, WWE Punk probably doesn't get the biggest run. But
I preface this podcast by trying to do as much research as possible from not only, and we'll get into the metrics of maybe how the first few days of Punk and WWE has gone from a metric standpoint, but also from the historical aspect of a CM Punk. And I was listening to Something to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson and Bruce Pritchard on the rise of CM Punk and how he really became to be in WWE. And Pritchard didn't hear the name of CM Punk, didn't know CM Punk until the summer of Punk in 04 with him and Joe in ROH. And like you said, that's really where he got his name, his foot in the door into WWE, so to speak, with the summer of Punk, the TNA run a little bit, him versus Raven, him versus Eddie Guerrero at IWA Mid-South, AJ Styles, all that good stuff. So CM Punk has come a long way. He's scratched and clawed and fought to get to where he is today, was in 2006, was in 2021. The guy knows how to create controversy. The guy knows how to get conversations going. And he's good in some ways for the wrestling business. For the most part, he's good for the wrestling business. He gets people talking. He is usually an uptick in merchandise sales, ticket sales, revenue, ratings. It's just, man, he shoots himself in the foot every now and then. So,
and along that line of home, like I would say AJ Styles' home was TNA. TNA made AJ Styles.
For sure. Yeah.
I would say home, like someone like Jade Cargill, her home, she could be in WWE for the rest of her life, but her home, the place that created Jade Cargill, was AEW. Without AEW, Jade Cargill doesn't exist in WWE. She doesn't exist right now because we haven't seen her in quite a while. They haven't. Anyways,
she's a
she might be. But one question that I didn't list on the list of questions that we were going to talk about that just kind of popped into my mind here. Which presentation? I think Punk's presentation of his re-debut back into WWE was terrible. I think they could have done such a better job of presenting him back out. At least on like the Saturday thing was cool because of the shock and awe as you were ending the show. But on Monday, like he should have been a big part of your show. And he wasn't. He was at the back end. Whereas Adam Copeland and AEW gets this big welcome into AEW, and then maybe there's a little bit of a difference between a re-debut and debuting for the first time in a company. I felt like AEW did justice for Adam Copeland's debut, and WWE could have done so much more to push to make CM Punk seem more important than they kind of made him do. Like they didn't make me want to watch Monday Night Raw next week, even if Punk's going to show up. They made me want to watch Adam Copeland in the coming weeks after his debut in AEW. What did you say?
I would agree with that for the sole purpose of that. Well, let me start off with this. WWE did a great job at promoting, hyping up CM Punk on Raw. First time in WWE in 9 years. Gonna speak live microphone. I would say that for the most part, people come for Punk because of what he could say, his mic. He's a good wrestler. Some people come for that, but I think for the most part, people come for the shock and awe of what he might say or the thought of what he might say. So WWE hyping this up all weekend long. And that was a smart play on them, obviously, for having pay-per-views on Saturdays. Tony Khan, you gotta listen to that, but get these things back to Saturdays, my man. Come on now. Not just a few every now and then. I need every one of these pay-per-views on a Saturday. Regardless, so.
Especially Evolution in March. That should have been Saturday.
Listen, I'm taking PTO for that Monday off, so it'll be all right. So WWE had all day Sunday, all day Monday to hype this thing up. And I think the Punk return broke their all-time social media, most watched video on social media, which goes to show that's just the shock and awe and the hype and draw that CM Punk is. So you hype this thing up all day Sunday, you hype this thing up all day Monday, and people are going to watch Raw. 8 o'clock comes. Don't get him. We get Randy Orton, and that's fine. So you're hyping up all night. And obviously, for the most part, most people that tuned in to Raw 8 o'clock did not stay for 10:50 at 11 o'clock. They didn't. They still drew a great number. I'm not downplaying that at all. I'm not saying that, people left when Punk came on. They did, but WWE had a great chance to capitalize on that at the 8 o'clock hour, and maybe people would have stayed. I doubt it. I think it was a smart play for them to not bring Punk out, because if they did at 8 o'clock, maybe more people would have tuned out after that, and then the ratings would have dipped down more so in the 9, 10, 11 o'clock hour. So I get it. They did it on purpose. It's a smart ploy. But that's where the difference between Edge, I know I give long-gated answers, but I don't know. With wrestling, I feel like I have such a weird way of trying to get my overall thought into it, because it's just the way my brain works. But anyways, with AEW, Copeland debuted on that Saturday for Wrestle Dream. I don't remember.
Yeah,
whatever October 1st was. What was October 1st?
I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday. Nope. I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Pulled up right here. Here we go. It was a Sunday. All right, so it was a Sunday. Regardless, so AEW had 3 days to have their next program on, and when Adam Copeland was going to appear. Now, they did at the press conference afterwards, so did WWE and all that good stuff. But anyways, so Copeland debuts on that Sunday. We're hyped up. Not only did Tony Khan say that he was going to be there on Wednesday, he was going to be there that Saturday for Collision. He was going to wrestle his first match the following Tuesday on Dynamite for Title Tuesday. Yes, that's where the difference is. AEW made me want to stay longer and be more invested in Adam Copeland, because they said, hey, listen, he's on the roster full time. Yeah, he's going to be there one day and he's going to speak. He's going to do all this. Guess what? He's going to be there Saturday for Collision. Guess what? He's going to have his first match the following week on Tuesday.
Right.
All we've got is a Punk promo of 6 minutes. No mention of if he's going to be on Friday on SmackDown, if he's going to be at NXT Tuesday, if he's going to be on Raw next Monday, like what his plans are. Art doesn't make me want to watch it. Probably on Raw on Monday, yes. But put that on social media already. Hey, guess what? Next Monday, Punk's going to be back. Is he going to do another promo? He doesn't even have to wrestle right now. That's totally fine. But I feel like you got to capitalize on that momentum from Saturday and Monday to auto-ready on the advertisement, put him on the bill, live in person, CM Punk. On the broadcast, CM Punk. So I agree with your answer. In a very, very long way.
No. Yeah, so I agree with that. I think here's the one thing I think Tony Khan does better than WWE. If there was one thing that I had to narrow down, it's when he brings somebody in, he makes them one of the most important pieces of whatever show that they're going to be a part of. You think of like when Cody was brought out at WrestleMania, yeah, he had his big WrestleMania moment. Yeah, it's that big surprise. But Cody was kind of like, mid-card starting. He didn't get his push with Roman until a year after his debut. Part of that was injury related, but I don't think he would have had that match with Roman any earlier, they would have finished his feud with Seth first before he got any sort of title shot. If we put it in the reverse and we had someone, let's say Seth Rollins debuting in AEW, Seth Rollins is going to probably get a big piece of some storyline really early on. Maybe not an AEW title opportunity, but right away. But he's going to be a big part of the show. And I just felt like they've pushed CM Punk to the last 6 minutes. They didn't get an overrun. Like Tony Khan would have gotten CM Punk a 20-minute overrun somehow and let him just say whatever the hell he wanted until 11:30 at night.
You're right. Hell, we even got a dump fuck comment on Dynamite last night. So there you go.
So they make Tony Khan does a whole lot to make new people coming into the company feel more, maybe even more special than they should. Anyways, moving kind of back online where we want to go, and this is a great transition to a comment that was just left in the chat here. According to WrestleNomics, the November 27th episode of Raw brought in a viewership of 1.884 million people. And I had my research here done. The week prior, on the 20th episode of November 20th episode, they were at 1.45, I think, million people. So CM Punk comes in on Monday night, and all he's able to do is raise the viewership approximately 450,000 people. Now, let me see if I can get this to work. Like you said earlier, we have new technology we're running with. Let's see. Can you see the screen, sir?
We can share a screen while recording. Look at this.
Look at this, sir. This is the AEW Collision numbers.
Is there any way you can zoom that in at all?
I can't. No, it's just whatever my screen shows. So, Punk debuts on the first episode of Collision. They got 816,000 people. Plummets. His last episode, I think, was right here, August 26th. He's averaging probably around 460,000 people between all the episodes. And we feel an immediate push when Punk gets fired his second time. They drop. But initially, it goes back up, and we hit this peak where we were higher than when Punk got fired, the last episode when Punk got fired. And then Tony Khan started messing with the show, and we're down to 200,000 at this point because he decides to run it against Survivor Series. He decides to run it against Friday Night SmackDown. Though that's just bad decision making on Tony Khan's part. If you should say, I'm gonna pop us back up into this big box here. My question is Punk really the draw that he was 10 years ago? I don't think he is, but let me see what you want to say. Does he really bring that many extra so-called casual fans to come back to watch Monday Night Raw? Because my feeling was I followed social media the whole night, and the feeling I got out of even I would say hardcore wrestling fans was they were going to tune into Monday Night Raw to watch CM Punk, and if he popped in at 8, they would have just turned it off after his promo, whatever he was doing. If he came in at 9, they would have turned it off after then. And so I think WWE knew that, and that's why they put him at the back end, make everybody watch the whole show. Again, good ploy. They didn't do anything to make someone like me, like you, who doesn't typically watch Monday Night Raw, to want to come back next week. So yeah, they did 1.8 something million this week. What about next week? What about the week after? Can Punk contain the 1.8s? It's a good ploy because I think Triple H was finalizing Raw's new TV deal coming up soon. That's why he wasn't at Raw this past Monday. He was with Nick Khan working with some TV deal stuff. Bruce Pritchard, I think, was the one in charge of this Monday night, from what I've read on the dirt sheets. But is Punk really that big of a draw anymore, or is he past his prime in terms of draw?
Well, I think the jury a lot on that from a WWE perspective. I would say from an AEW perspective, he brought a little bit of that and then tapered off a little bit, tapered off a little. I probably should have sent these to you. That would have helped my case a little bit besides me just saying things, even though I saw these I saw these metrics on X and emails and stuff like that. AEW right now is averaging, and I know, you can't truly compare AEW to WWE. They're not going to war right now. They're not head to head. It's AEW is an alternative programming, alternative elite wrestling, whatever you want to call it. AEW, right after Punk got fired, I think in the summertime, they're averaging about 3,500 fans at a Dynamite. And right now they're averaging about 4K for Dynamite. So the attendance is up. Attendance is up from the summer. Now, usually the fall in wrestling is when things go down until we get an uptick in January for the Rumble, and then through WrestleMania, and then we get to the summer. Usually there's after WrestleMania and leading up to SummerSlam, we get a little bit of a bump right around the SummerSlam time into the early stages of fall, and then we kind of see a little bit of a downward spiral, not a downward spiral, but a downward tick after SummerSlam, a little bit up for Survivor Series, and then back down until January. But Dynamite and AEW has actually done decently well since Punk, as far as still getting bumping up the attendance numbers a little bit, at least for Dynamite. Now I will say, Tony Khan, you got to stop booking these 20,000 seat arenas. You just got to stop. Money aspect, if you're getting a great deal on these venues for them, sure, I get it from that aspect, but
Right.
it just doesn't look good when you've got a 20,000 seat arena and you can only sell about 45 to 5,000 tickets.
Right.
You want
the
crowds to look great.
This was something I think we've talked off the record, off the camera about, like, just optics wise. Would it not just, you could get those smaller arenas, the 5,000 seat arenas, and sell them out? Would it not look better optically to say, hey, we sold out? Sure, it was the HEB Center in Dallas, Texas, or wherever the hell it is, but at least it's not. We're getting the negative optics of, hey, we went to United Center and sold 8,000 seats, and there's 12,000 open seats that people can take pictures of and make fun of AEW for. I would like ECW the shit out of this. Like, small arenas, pack everyone in as close to the ring as you can, and just be
a little bit better than ECW, because we don't want to run bingo halls now. We're not that bad. I know what you're getting at, though.
Run the East Roland High School.
We're gonna get AML here now. Going back to your original point, though, original question about Punk being a draw. The jury's still out on that from a WWE perspective. We'll kind of see in the next coming weeks how he does with the shows he's advertised for, the ratings as well. You can't base it off of 1 week. Week to week is going to be like that. It's going to be week to week for the sales, for the TV ratings as well. I think on Twitter he was already the number 2 best-selling merch of Sunday and Monday, so he's already back up on top of that. I will say that hold on one second. I will say that from what I have, what I've somewhat gathered, and this is where I probably could have, send this over to you to make it a little bit more of an emphasis thing, but I subscribe to a thing on Patreon called Russell Ticks. It's very valid. It's very true for the most part. Sometimes you can't account for some things like suites or whatnot. Usually he's pretty good about the comp setup, and from where he started to now, it's very accurate for the most part. It's actually pretty good the way that he's able to track these things as far as comps go, tickets distributed, setup capacity, tickets bought, all that stuff. So going back to this past Raw in Nashville, I looked and took some screenshots of these. So on November the 19th, the tickets that had been bought were 8,583. Fast forward that to Sunday before Raw, so November the 26th, that went up to 9,006. So at about a 500, almost 600 ticket distribution in just in a week. So November 19th, 583. 7 days later, 1 day after Punk returned, only 5 tickets more. So then you go into, okay, well, how many tickets were distributed? How many people were in attendance? 10,501. Good for Nashville. It has topped the last time that WWE was in town at that arena. So 10,521. That means that from Sunday to Monday, since when Punk returned at Survivor Series, all the way till Monday night, he sold 1,425 tickets. That's not bad. I figured it'd be a little bit more than that. I figured that they could have gotten easily 11 to 12, maybe even 13,000 people in that arena, and they didn't. There's some set off in the upper deck, a little bit in the middle section, but it was pretty full. 10,000. It's better than AEW's done recently. Besides, really, Full Gear, he did 13,000. Obviously, All In did something. Whatever. Take away the pay-per-views aspect. TV-wise, AEW's done right now more than about 5,000, 5,500. So 1425. That's now the metric that we're going to be looking at. Is okay. So Punk moved 1,425 tickets in 2 days. Now going forward to when he is advertised, because that's right now, as far as I know, on social media, he's not been advertised for Raw. He's not been advertised for SmackDown. So now it's going to be a matter of, okay, it was 1.884 million people watch Raw. It's the best since WrestleMania. Okay, awesome. Now, what's it going to be like next week? What's the ticket sales going to be like next week? What's the ticket sales going to be like this moving on forward as we get more into the Punk run in WWE? I would say right now, sure. 1,400 tickets sold, 8,000 up to 10,000. Much more full arena. Looks good on camera. Number 2 overall merchandise seller in the company. Great. Now let's see how it moves on, because that's the only real way we're going to be able to tell if Punk is a mainstay draw. I personally think that after about 4 or 5 months, it's going to wear off. Unless he does a really big angle, does something good at WrestleMania, and it keeps people tuned in. I think after WrestleMania is really going to be where we're going to be able to tell, okay, how's Punk going to do? Because between now and WrestleMania, people are going to want to see Punk in person, on TV probably. What's his angle going to be like? Is he going to go after Seth? Is he going to go after Roman? Is he going to win the Royal Rumble? A lot of questions. I want to see what's going to happen, what angles he's going to be in, what storylines he's going to be in. So between now and WrestleMania, I think you're going to see the uptick in ratings, the uptick in ticket sales. He's going to do great with merchandise. To me, it's going to be after WrestleMania when the newness is starting to wear off a little bit. When we've already seen him wrestle a couple times in a couple storylines, now where's it going to go? How does he do after that? That's where I have questions. We'll see.
Absolutely. We'll kind of wrap this up here. We've been going close to an hour here. Last question. This is just kind of fun, something to think about. Before we jump into it, let's play a couple things on the chat here. We got a friend of ours. He's watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for giving us a view. They say use Daly's plays, but we're not NXT anyway. Daly's place is fun, but I like watching. I don't know. There's so many small arenas and small towns everywhere that like you could fill up an arena. You don't have to stay in one arena to make it feel. Plus, Daly's place is so open and it's outdoors, so you can't run it. I mean, yeah, it's in Jacksonville, but do you really want to run?
Well, they have a cover onto it, so if it was raining, they would be fine. I don't like using the Daly's place setup. AEW has enough talent to be able to do a touring brand. It's not like TNA, to where they didn't really have a great following until about 2009, 10, 11, to where they could go on the road a little bit. And even then, it was still a mistake. You got to use smaller arenas right now to fill those up, and then we'll see what happens. Daly's place is not a bad option, but I mean, if you're going to use a sole place, and I know they own it, so it wouldn't be like that they would be losing money if they just stayed in Daly's place. My thing is that there's no other attraction around Jacksonville that you could probably get people to come in. So like WCW, whenever they were at Disney MGM, they were giving away those tickets for free because nobody's going to pay to watch, or not many people are going to pay to watch a Saturday night taping. So they needed to bring in the tourists and say, hey, wrestling, let's go watch this.
Well,
TNA,
and AEW even tried, because they were at Universal. They had a stage at Universal Orlando, I think it was, for the ROH tapings, and now they're doing ROH pre-taped prior to Dynamite or Rampage, because no one was going to those shows anyway. So you're to production costs. It costs less when you can pre-tape an ROH, or you can pre-tape a Rampage, or you can pre-tape a Collision or whatnot. In the same city that you're running your Dynamite or your Collision or somewhere else, you can get the arena for an extra hour and pre-tape stuff. It's production costs. That's why AEW is doing Rampage and ROH in that area. They're saving costs on production there. I don't think AEW necessarily needs to go to 10,000 seat arenas for a Collision or a Dynamite. So like when they're coming to Charlotte, they're using Bojangles Coliseum. I think that's the perfect venue for. They don't need to use Spectrum Center or whatever it's called. I think it's Spectrum Center still. Bojangles is a fine arena to go to. And then their big pay-per-views, I think that's when you try to fill the stadiums or the Coliseum.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go with that too. I was going to come to the soundstage. You kind of led into two perfect things I was going to follow with that. TNA used the soundstage in Orlando, Florida, Soundstage 21, Universal Studios in Orlando for 7-8 years, and still did it after the 2012 and 13. They came back to Soundstage. They weren't selling tickets to fans. They were letting them come in for free. They were pulling people off the park. They had a deal with the park that if you bought a park admission, you can get in to watch the wrestling shows. They were bringing people that would more or less be, usually every week you would watch the same kind of people on TV, not because they would tape 2 or 3 shows at a time, but because they would have the same regular people. Just like NXT probably had the same thing whenever they're in full sale. And I'm sure now at the Performance Center, I just feel like those things get stale. It doesn't look great on TV after a while. Sure, it may be full of 5, 6, 7, 800 people, but it's like, man, we want to see something different. I love the way different arenas look, the different crowds, all that good stuff.
Right.
While you can build a home base and it be a really cool aspect, like the Impact Zone in Orlando, like the Full Sail crowd, like those things we stick in our brains because those crowds were good. But at the same time, Chicago crowds, Philly crowds, New York crowds, LA crowds, the Texas crowd for AEW, like those are cool to see the different niches and markets and how people react to AEW come to their city. But I agree with you. Use the 5, 6, 7, 8,000 seat arenas for Dynamite Collision, and then use the 12, 15, 20,000 seat arenas that they're doing for pay-per-views. They're doing that for Revolution. Greensboro Coliseum is the biggest indoor arena in the United States. 20,000 plus seats, fixed seats. If you could get 10 to 15,000, that's awesome. If you can get 18,000 to 19,000, that's even better. So use the small arenas to get your TV taping, so make it look good, make it sell out. Go to the big arenas for your pay-per-views, because typically pay-per-views are going to draw and have more people go to them. That's how, to me, you should be able to do that. Right. So I agree with you on that.
Perfect. Let's kind of wrap up here. We got one more question that I kind of want to lead in here on, and then we're just going to say goodbye to CM Punk for hopefully quite a while, unless he starts some other drama somewhere. How long do you think he stays in WWE? I know we kind of mentioned it briefly. I guess I'll start off on this. I don't expect CM Punk's run in WWE to last. I have this gut feeling it lasts 6 months. It gets him to WrestleMania, and then either there's rumors that there's a behavioral clause in his contract with WWE. But I feel like there's just so much backstage heat. He can. That's another thing that he said, that I felt was kind of a lie was he said everybody backstage was hugging him and kissing him on the mouth and all of that. There's so many people I think that have their preconceived notions about Punk, and they're going to be cordial at the beginning, just like they were cordial in AEW at the beginning. But Punk is Punk, and Punk's going to it's just in his nature to build a toxic locker room. He did it before AEW. He did it before and in WWE. I think he did it in TNA or ROH prior. Toxic locker rooms follow Phil Brooks. And I don't think this will be anything different. It sounds like the reason that they, and maybe this is true, maybe this is not, but there's a rumor going around. The reason they kind of uprooted Kevin Owens from his story on Raw and moved him to SmackDown was because Phil Brooks is going to be on Raw, and Kevin Owens doesn't want to work with him, doesn't want to work in that area, so Kevin Owens is moving over to SmackDown. I can't confirm that is true or wrong. I don't know if that's correct. I'm not sure if that's even accurate. That's something I just read on the social medias. You have the people that want him in there in the company. You have the people that don't. Just like there was in AEW. He started drama in AEW. I give it 6 months before something pops off in WWE, and he's either kicked out or whatever may happen. What shall you say? How long do you feel? And maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong, because Punk, at the end of the day, he is a good thing for the wrestling business. When CM Punk is on TV, like it's better that he's on TV than not on TV. He went 7 years away from the business was too long for him, and like he's just one of the greatest to do it when he's on his game. When he's not starting drama, he's great. But when he's on this narcissistic run that he likes to run, and he doesn't want to take any blame for any of his actions, sometimes it's just hard to keep him somewhere. I feel 6 months. Where shall you say?
At this point, I think his next nickname should be Finagle Phil. The way he can finagle a locker room, finagle a contract, and still be on TV and make great money for it. We're gonna get a good year and a half, almost 2 years out of Phil in WWE. I think that he's gonna be on his best behavior for a while, and it's just gonna take either not creative in his mind, he gets too tired of being on the road so much, or something sets it off, and we get into the situation where it happened in AEW twice, and he gets fired. But I think we get a good year and a half, 2 years out of him. For 7 years, it's true. Arenas, people were chanting his name still. He was a draw then. He's a draw now. It's just a matter of how much. And then it's just a matter of if he can control that temper enough to where, do business, have fun with it, and then get out a rich man. And that's the name of the game. It should be, at least. And
right,
time will tell with that for good old Philly.
Right. And don't take my comments or your comments or anything to say that we don't want CM Punk to succeed in WWE. I think he deserves to go out the way that he wanted to go out. I don't think he wanted to go out the way he did in 2013 or 2014. I think this is a good way for him to redeem himself and make his final run in WWE on a more positive note than it was his first run. And I hope that he can have a good run. My concern is, one, the behavioral problem, but I also don't know. He's what, 41, 42?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know if his body can last. And maybe WWE will do a better job of not making him wrestle as much as maybe AEW did. But it just seemed like he was injured every 5 or 6 months in his AEW run, or suspended. So I'm not 100% confident that his body can hold up to professional wrestling as much. One comment here that I gotta mention says, "Can we get a fuck Sean Ross Sapp?" No, you can't. But What I will say is if you download Patreon and you go to Fightful and pay $5 a month, as Sean Ross Sapp would say, it's the best $5 in the business, and I agree. I should have found his Monday night Raw breakdown because it was almost as accurate as possible, and I would have just waited to the end of the show to tune in instead of watching all 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. Fightful, Patreon, best $5 in the industry. I'm not sponsored anyway by Fightful, but I mean, if you want to sponsor me, then that'll be great. Any last comments, sir, before we kind of roll on out of here?
I'm not being sponsored by WrestleTix, but it's the best $250 that I spend per month is WrestleTix. I am infatuated when it comes to ticket sales and how these are laid out. They look, tickets distributed, counts, the pictures you get inside the arena of all the shows. I love that kind of stuff. So $250 a month, the WrestleTix is a cool little prop there. But that's all I got. It's fun to be back in the saddle again, talking wrestling. I think that we're much more comfortable talking wrestling and can hit on a bunch of different topics and a bunch of different questions. I'm sure we're gonna have some cool collaborations along the way. It should be kind of fun. And so keep the questions coming, keep the topics coming. Follow us on the socials, share the video, share the page, like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. So that way, hopefully, we can make something cool out of it and just have fun with fellow wrestling fans.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you are interested in being on this show, if you like talking about wrestling, shoot me, shoot Cody, shoot the podcast Twitter page, a DM. We can work that out. Or you can email us, junkyardmediagroup@gmail.com. We want to bring passionate wrestling fans and just kind of build a fan base here. Something we forgot to mention at the beginning, we got a Discord server. I'll put the link to that Discord server in the description of this video here if I had not already done so. Follow us on all our social medias, like, comment, subscribe. Go to the Apple podcast page, the Spotify podcast page. Leave us some reviews. That's the best way that our podcast can get shown to other people is reviews. And I feel like I'm back at work when I'm begging people for reviews, but give me a review, please. 5 stars for this podcast. If it was Dave Meltzer, he would give me 6.75 stars. This is actually a good comment. Right before we get off here, we can do some Cody Caps quiz of the week type stuff here. That'll be fun. We can get a couple people on here and test our knowledge. Join the Discord.
Yeah, that'd be a cool thing. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
Topic ideas are great. Quizzes are cool. I mean, I totally forgot. I didn't know if you were doing one this week, so give me to come up with what a knowledge I have.
Well, y'all, this is fun. We'll have to bring it back next week. But until then, this has been the first episode of the brand new version of the Beyond the Junkyard podcast. I appreciate everyone tuned in on the live stream. If you're listening to the audio recording afterwards, I appreciate you for listening to that as well. Like, comment, share, all of that good stuff. Everybody says the same spiel at the end here. Leave us some ideas on what to talk about. Current events, past events, controversial topics. We like it all. Controversy sells, right? But until next time, we will see you beyond the yard. Y'all have